All right, well, first of all, Billy, what remarks do you have planned? Give us a little sneak peek of what you're going to say here tonight at the Night of Excellence.
Following Pete Gillen, I probably should say hello and goodbye. Knowing how funny Pete is, and of course the connection here and a great record. I really haven't thought too much about so much the comments as the great history here, and in particular the coaches, and obviously they recruited great players, but the rich tradition, and I'm going back to the late 50s when I was a kid, and they played in the NIT, Xavier, and of course over the years Bob Stack was an old friend. We played against one another. You get Mata and Miller and Bob Prosser. It's really incredible. They used to call Miami of Ohio the cradle of coaches, and somewhat Xavier is. And I'm so happy for Chris because he works hard and to get to the Sweet 16. And nobody talked much about them all year, and they just hung in there, competed, and so I think maybe just touching on them a little bit, and hopefully crack a few here and there, and see if we can get some people to smile.
You crack a few?
Jokes are.
Let me. I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know if you've had a chance to dive into your Big East yet, but give us a little something on Xavier. What do you think about them coming back this season?
It's interesting. This summer, I always get a kick out of every team's had their best recruiting year. Yeah. And traditionally, it seems the best recruiting year is where somebody steps up and maybe generally one, occasionally two, a need. Maybe it's a role, a kid that can be backup point or combo guard, those kind of things. So, but I think Georgetown did well. They got a big kid out of New York City. Brunson, the kid at Villanova, is pretty special as a guard. And again, Villanova is not as big, for example, as Xavier has been, but been able to manufacture a lot of points with that 3 and 4 guard offense. So, Butler is a good basketball team. We know Xavier is a good basketball team. And I don't know any of the Creighton kids. I was out there. He's brought in 6 or 7 new guys, and that's always scary. Summer JCs had a couple sitting out, much like they have here, 2 good kids sitting out. So nobody knows how they're going to step in and contribute. But basketball-wise, St. John's is another one. I don't know the kids. I know there's a little guard out of Italy that they got, and I did see him in the World game, and he's about 5'10", can really shoot. He's not a point guard. So those things will have to unfold themselves, and I think that's what November and December is all about.
Well, and then Obekba transfers to UNLV, so we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. So that helps get layups against St. John's.
Yeah, that's right. Calling your first Final Four for TV. What did that mean to you to be there with Jimmy on those nights?
Obviously it's a special occasion, no matter what it is, whether you're a fan, obviously a participant. But having done the radio, what it did was, and I've talked to some football guys just about the Super Bowl, for example. It had nothing to do with me. And the biggest thing is when they're there once before, they're used to it. It eliminates a lot of things you go to because you think you should. And so you only go to the things that you have to. And so that end of it was okay because I did the radio over the last 20 years. So just having Jim and Grant Hill and the relaxed nature that Jim presents and how much he loves basketball. Although when I watch the golf, I'm not so sure which sport he likes more. And for football in there too, right? He wears all those hats. But it was exciting once it began. And the competition and the ratings and the interest, the play, it just elevated to a special spot. And, I feel very blessed, like anybody who does any part of the NCAA.
When Greg had his issue, there was seemingly a nationwide groundswell of support. Get Billy in that chair. What did that mean to you? Because I'm sure you sensed it and felt it.
I guess I didn't feel it because at home they just about speak to me. So, I felt badly, obviously, because I've known Greg since he played at Vegas, and it's his misfortune. I always say to people, I'm there so long, and I'm so old. They figured they better give that guy a shot before he throws a 7. So I didn't think so much of the opportunity, but the excitement of being involved in it and, being able to contribute and blend in, too, because we were thrown together. We only did one game prior to the Big Ten tournament, and that was Notre Dame at Duke. So, yeah, it was exciting, and it's nice to have people say good things, but I think it all boils down to people watch the event. If they turn the sound off, and never having been in an establishment that serves adult beverages, I know the sound is never on, from what I've been told, in those buildings. So, everybody wants to watch the game, so don't get carried away with yourself.
Let me ask you, the Syracuse alum here, is the 2-3 really have man-to-man principles?
It sure does. I was with Coach Boeheim all this week. He bored the tears out of me. He said hello. I fell asleep. His style of play, he just understands most teams don't make threes. Maybe you have one, maybe you have two, but they predicate everything on making a shot tough, forcing you into situations you're uncomfortable. And when you watch him drill, they do a lot of man-to-man things. So even though it's become somewhat of a joke, it's really pretty. It's consistent with the way they play.
How do you never mess up the onions call? Because it's always the perfect dagger that wins the game. You never pull it out too soon.
Well, occasionally at the end of a game, I've missed it because it's so extraordinary and there's so much to be said by a play-by-play guy. But, hopefully every game you do ends with one. That means it's been a great ride. If some kid can step up and drill the free throw or make a big shot. So hopefully I slip it in at the opportune time.
Sometimes, this will be the last one for me, if somebody drops something in the trash, this is just in the office, in my personal life, I'll say send it in. Is that a me issue, or is that something that's probably more of a me issue?
Well, I don't say it that often.
So you don't walk around saying send it in?
No, I don't think people would be putting me away, I think. But, no, it's crazy how the game just I think basically all of the things over the years that have come out have been to be said succinctly, to get out of the play-by-play guy's way. And years ago, I used to say man-to-man quickly, or with a connection to it, minute, that kind of thing. And I just did it to let the play-by-play guy identify. And I never knew I did it. And I'm at the airport a few times and, getting ready to, go through the security or whatever. And I hear a guy go, minute. And I go, what the hell's wrong with that guy? And it sort of dawned on me what I was saying. So a lot of it just becomes part of the vernacular because you want to make sure that you're a good team and get the heck out of the play-by man's way.
Of all the things you do say, is that the one you do hear the most, or is there something else you hear the most?
I think you get to the point, like you say, I got to say this again kind of thing, versus the spontaneity of it. But, usually every game, that's how we start the game. It's become sort of the deal. But, I think every situation you try and be as descriptive as you can and not as repetitious. But unfortunately, I'm not that smart. As you can tell, I didn't go to Harvard with some of the things I say.
I do want to ask you about Xavier. This program has never made a Final Four. How much do you think they need that to kind of take it to the next step nationally? They are a national program now, but how much would a Final Four?
Well, we were great pals of Dean Smith, and nobody thought Dean could coach because he'd never won the championship for many, many years. And everybody in the business had the utmost respect for him. And I think when it does happen, it's something that, everybody says, well, he's proven himself or the program's proven himself. And yet everybody that's in basketball has the utmost respect. And I think that's what exists here at Xavier, that, it's a great program. They've handled themselves extremely well. And, the breakthrough, the old story, you got to be patient. Boeheim was patient, He was lucky not lucky, but 87, unlucky, I should say, that they didn't win it. But, you just keep knocking on the door. The one and done is such a difficult situation where if you're off your game a little bit, that's why Mercer beat Duke. I mean, you take somebody for granted. It's just hard. But I don't think it makes you something in the eyes of the followers, or I think we or you, whatever we are as media, it's a storyline that people like to harp on. But again, it's hard to get there, and you just keep plugging away.
Remember Lute and Coach Calhoun couldn't coach either.
Well, what's sad in a way, traveling around, every city I go in, they're unhappy that they didn't make it, and in some cases with their coach. You name the town. Arizona's a good example. When's he going to win the thing? Well, it's hard. He's got freshmen playing that, Why didn't Kentucky win it? They didn't really react well. I mean, there's so many crazy things that can transpire, but it's just keep, plugging. Everybody starts, we used to say October 15th, now they have different starting.
Yeah.
Everybody starts with this idea, right, let's go. We're going to work hard and, put our head down, push ahead, and hopefully end up in the Final Four and then win it. It just doesn't happen. There's over 300 schools with the same idea. And, in some cases, the rich have gotten richer with their recruiting, so you almost give them 2 or 3, and the number 1 seeds have sort of gotten there, quite a bit the last couple of years. So it's hard to explain how difficult that is.
Let me ask you this last one. You've got, and I'm tying it in with what I asked Pete last year. You've got 1 game to coach for your life. Which current or former coach do you want sitting next to you, really helping you coach it up, not just charting deflections?
My high school coach, you wouldn't even know who he was.
Wasn't Mickey Corcoran, was it?
No, he's Parcells High School coach. Yeah, but Mickey helped us win games because he refereed.
Oh,
and he was very good to me. I got to the free throw line quite a bit on Mickey. But, you go with the chalk, I would think. At some period it would have been Iba, and then jumping ahead it may have been Knight, and all of a sudden it's Krzyzewski. Dean jumps in. So there's so many good guys. And that's what makes it harder to win, as we talked about winning. The preparation is so intense and involved that, one guy to win it is, there's so many good ones, Was Valvano the one guy? Who the heck thought he could win it when he fouled his way to the championship? So I think it's a personal call.
Yeah.
Style of play, or alma mater, followers, that kind of thing.
One more from me, Bill. You saw the old Big East, now called the new Big East. Your thoughts on the quality of the conference top to bottom today?
I'll answer you like Boeheim used to like the students. Were you a student newspaper guy?
Yeah.
And he'd give them a chance, and he would go, next question. That's how he handled everything.
Kicked us out of practice.
Listen. The old Big East was reminded most of us of our Catholic League games. Take no prisoners. Brawls, fights, half-hour dialogues between referees and coaches. It was different. The newness of it was something that corresponded with the advent of ESPN, and that just grew and blossomed. And this one, to get 6 teams in last year. And I know right away people say, well, they all didn't do well. Well, that's the nature of the game, certainly, and no one expected Xavier to do what they did. But to get 6 in, that high percentage is pretty extraordinary. And I think what they've done is a philosophy from again, I'm inside but outside. They want to play with the Power 5, and they want to do the things that are going to be attractive to the kids that they're going to attract. And I think if you do that with some consistency, you're going to always be a program. I think the schools in it have a great philosophy about basketball, and they've capitalized on that in their recruiting and their dialogue with people. So hopefully, it'll turn into better players and more opportunities to go further.